stream. All right, it does say that we are back here, so just make sure before I post live, but we might be able to get back. All right. Oops. All right, so it says we are back live. It's
That's cool. You got a link that I can maybe put on the chat room.
Try this one again for our friends back home. Sorry about that. I just sent it to you in Discord.
All right. So this is like version 2 or something?
Yeah, that's what they'll say.
How this works.
Let's see.
Wonder if there's any way that we can somehow dial down the amount of resources that are being.
And I'm gonna put in some hours tonight and try to do that because I don't think it should be using, like, even now I'm up to 31.4%, 33% CPU, which just seems like that's right around where it's been at, but once it gets around that high it's shutting down. So all right.
So let's put here.
No, and look, now YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smoothly. Made it back. We don't know what's going on, but thank you guys. Hopefully this works, but I'm already getting an error message. So.
What a bummer, right?
I know. I don't know what it is. Something with the CPU, I think. We even moved down the frames per second to try to get that, do something different, but I'm not exactly sure what.
All right, well, let's just maybe get on to any names that we're asked just to look at, and then we'll
be quick and call it a day. All right, so we had.
Nice to see Adam. Adam is such a soldier.
He really is.
Hey, well, nice to see that you made it here.
We appreciate you guys. All right, so let's jump in. We got QNT.
QNT. Where should we look at this?
I got minimize that.
Are we Binance?
Let's do it.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Thank you, Adam. We appreciate that. It says he likes this show.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to say you're a pretty agreeable guy. I could sit and listen to you.
I enjoy the conversation. I think it's really interesting to just learn this stuff because I've never had anyone in my life. I mean, growing up, my parents were never like, they're always pretty bad with their money, I'd say, and just like never taught us financial. I don't really, never really taught us much about like using your money wisely, saving your penny. Like, I mean, just save your monies and stuff like that, but there's never any investing and that kind of stuff too. So it's like you're a father figure there for me, teaching me showing me the ropes of the trading world, because this is something I really have never been exposed to, which is
I don't think it's taught anywhere.
And
I think that the people that know this stuff, they don't want to teach people this.
Yeah. And I just think
keep this
really
a secret, cool. Right? Then that way they got the party to themselves. To hell with the public. Brian's just on this crazy ass rant, this like the Blues Brothers, right? I'm on a mission from God, and then and actually I think she recently passed away, didn't she? Aretha Franklin. You remember the Blues Brothers? Did you ever see that movie?
I do remember.
Don't you blaspheme me here! Don't you blaspheme me
Yeah,
here!
I'm seeing if she
But I'm
did.
on a mission from God. Don't you
Aretha
dare blaspheme me
Franklin,
here.
yeah, died in Detroit in August 16th, 2018.
Did she?
Yes, so it's been coming up on 5 years.
Wow. Man, this past 5 years is the weirdest thing. I was talking to some girl on Twitter and I was totally messaging her back and forth. She was a local DJ here, and I had an idea, kind of like what we do here. Wouldn't it be a cool idea to have like a professional DJ, somebody that, talks on the radio and that could, spin tunes and play tunes. And then I could take requests to dude up charts while the song's playing. I just write up all the charts and do all the levels. And then when the song's done, we go back and we analyze the chart. Wouldn't that be a cool idea?
Yeah,
I
I
thought
like
that
it.
would have been just a massive idea, but she wasn't even the slightest bit interested in that. And then yesterday, turns out she's moving back east. She's moving back to Toronto. And I'm like, oh, you're going back east. You're not going to have much fun there. And she couldn't even remember who I was. So
How
anyway.
could she? How dare she?
Okay, so QNT,
Yes.
and this in our future episodes, what we should probably do is get you familiar with like a site like CoinGecko,
Yes, I am familiar with them.
where we could use CoinMarketCap, but unfortunately, actually, this is interesting. What the hell is all this nonsense? Do they consider me some sort of?
Cotter asks, is that a screwdriver?
What am I supposed to do here? Just click on this?
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Anyway,
I
so and I guess bots come and scrape data off of the site all the time. But this I think is it used to be CoinMarketCap was a fun one to use, and then CZ went and bought it out. But this one seems to be pretty popular as a way to sort of screen your ideas from a fundamental
Mm-hmm.
perspective.
Yeah.
So we should come in here and go QNT. All right, tell me a story. What the heck is this story here? Is that number 35? Is that what that said there?
Yeah. It is.
Fairly large player. Actually, while we were on break, I was reading about how Mr. Fink. You want to know how Bitcoin goes to $500,000 a coin? It goes to $500,000 because of this kind of shit. So, why did Tesla perform the way that it did? I would argue that the only reason why Tesla went up the way that it is because Mr. Fink really pushed all this ESG and all that nonsense bullshit investing. And then, of course, because he owns so many media outlets, he goes on these media outlets and promotes that. And that's the way these stock prices get bid up, and then all the woke, they all jump on the bandwagon. Then literally as soon as he's done and he wants to take profits and get out, then he'll just come out and he'll say, oh, I'm not interested in ESG. That's for somebody else to make a decision on. Yeah, we have no interest in that whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, stock price of Tesla falls in 70% and like that. Such a fucking joke.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, here we go. You want to know how Bitcoin gets to $500,000? And let's just see if you know who is it that's calling for Bitcoin to go to $500,000 a coin. Do you remember? This is all that FA stuff. Let's see if anybody on YouTube knows who this is. You should.
Who's calling it?
Who is saying Bitcoin should go to $500,000 a coin? And he's actually a pretty reputable analyst. He's not some sort of, crypto site, Ponzi shill guy. He's a guy who's got a pretty good reputation in the space.
Willy Woo.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Fred Drum
that would be a crypto person. A guy by the name of Tom Lee, if I'm not mistaken. And the company that he works for is Fundstrat, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's right. Might be Tom Lee. Might have gotten that wrong. Is a managing partner and the head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors. And he's been, his name Thomas John Lee. He's been touting Bitcoin's going to go to $500,000 here a coin. So interestingly enough, he's been basically this has been his shill for the past like 10 years. So it's certainly not something new. But I think he's going to see this. And now with this clown coming in here and throwing his weight around, it's fascinating that in years gone by, right? In 2017, he described Bitcoin as, quote, an index of money laundering. Um, but he doesn't seem to have that opinion anymore. So now he's saying, BlackRock CEO says he believes that the role of crypto is digitalized gold. Bitcoin could be an alternative to gold in order to hedge against inflation or devaluation of local currencies. And also, too, I don't know whether I've shown you this before or not. Actually, you can see I've obviously Google searched this a few times. Already pre-built in there.
You typed in an
Right.
IN and like, I know what he needs.
Yeah, that must be the artificial intelligence crap, right? But this is the bothersome thing, is that I think, if we talk money cycles and we talk, have I ever told you to watch the Money Masters videos?
I don't think so. I'm gonna make note of it. Money
Sure I
Masters.
have.
Wait, on YouTube, the one on YouTube? They're the
Yeah.
long videos, correct?
Yeah, it's about 3 hours long.
Yes,
And
you
I seem to
have.
remember after I showed you this, you said, I'm going to go watch this right after we're done here. Um, but anyway, I don't know whether, I think this is like their website, but he actually does and the poor guy, I've always said this, the poor guy basically spent his entire career.
You're right, you
So
did
this
show me this.
video was done back in the 1980s and then remastered in the 96. So you can see even here he's talking about the Federal Reserve Act passed in 1913.
I will say, I promise, by the next time we meet,
When you're on an airplane
I will be. Well, you have
flying
my
to
word.
Boston and you got nowhere to go
You
for
have my
3
word,
hours.
Brian, that by the next time we meet, I will have watched this entire thing. Okay?
All right. You can see it's a
you can
nice
hold me
little
accountable on
3 hours.
that.
This is like a typical Brian rant, right? Yeah, it's no problem. 3 hours. Anyway, so if you buy into all that, this story, this way of looking at the world, then actually, you ever heard of Klaus? That what I don't even know what Klaus's name is.
Santa Claus?
Unfortunately, no. He's like evil Klaus, not good Klaus. This is evil Klaus. I think his name is Schwab, something Schwab. Klaus Schwab, I think that's his name. Anyway, World Economic Forum and the Great Reset, all that nonsense. Anyway, about every years, the whole money system has to go and reset itself. And I would argue that this 2020s is very similar to the 1940s. We had the Bretton Woods Agreement coming out of the Second World War that sort of established the Western nations, and really the Soviet Union was part of it, but Stalin just told all those money masters guys to go fuck themselves. But anyway, the point of the matter here is you can see if the 2020s are similar to the 1940s, this is the U.S. Consumer Price Index, but this is actually like the annual inflation rate.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about this sickness and what this sickness did, if we think of like 2020, remember for the longest time we had really, really low inflation rates. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Past decade, right? Interest rates were like zero. Then we have this manufactured sickness, and all of a sudden you get this big push in inflation. They blame it, of course, on supply chains, but let's call a spade a spade. This is all about money printing, and if you need an education on that, that's what this guy's all about. And if you need an education on the effects of money printing, then you should check out Mr. Friedman. I don't know whether you ever heard of Milton Friedman, but he was a pretty popular sort of working man's economist back 20, well, geez, I guess 50 years ago. Um,
Any relation to SBF?
no, no, no. So anyway, that's this gentleman. Only governments create inflation. So you have to understand that. This was, of course, all the debate around the 1970s and the runaway inflation problem then. So if you understand that this conversation is connected with this conversation, which is connected ultimately with where is he? This conversation. Then what you understand is that it's all, and of course, I'm a big fan of Jupiter Saturn crosses as our events to sort of mark these windows. We just went through a Jupiter Saturn cross. Point here is had a whole bunch of inflation, and recently, I don't know, have you noticed prices gone up a little bit in your world?
Oh yeah.
Right. Then things actually calmed down, right? So 2023, I think that's like 1943.
Yeah.
And then 2024, that'll be like 1944. And you can see 43 inflation numbers 7-8%, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 0. They actually get the inflation number down. But then, and so that's sort of going to set our next sort of base, especially Bitcoin halving events and all that kind of talk, right? Big rally here in assets as the inflation bugaboo comes back. And look what happens at the end of this decade. Look at these numbers.
That's ridiculous.
We just 42 was our 22, and it topped out at like 13%, right? Which was pretty ugly. But look what happens here 47, 48. Look at these numbers. We almost hit 20% inflation rate here. So that's what we have staring us in the face. And if this scenario plays out, and this is exactly Mr. BlackRock's actually telling us what's going to happen here in the future. So Bitcoin could be, well, I think everybody in our society knows it's going to be an alternative and a hedge against devaluation of local currencies. What do you think they might be talking? He might be talking about there.
The USD.
Yeah, sadly. And the worst part about it is that there's an expression in the market, and I'll try and not swear. So whose poo stinks the least? You might say that the U.S. dollar's fundamentals and stuff are bad, but they are nothing in comparison to what's going on in my country, where the guy in charge is basically one of these totalitarian dictators, and he's just turned the money printing press on. He's going to create a Zimbabwe, a Venezuela, a Weimar Germany in my country. You can see it happening. I mean, now and it's laughable. I mean, you're kind of just out of college.
Yep.
Do you have $500,000 to put down to buy a starter home for you and your girlfriend if she just so happens to get pregnant and you have to have a short notice wedding?
No,
and
sir.
All of a sudden, you are a father and you better go get a house?
No, sir. And I feel like in Portland, there's nothing here available that's like for like a 2-bedroom house, the low end is like 450,000. Like in
All right, so
Portland.
come to my country, and that number is triple that number.
Wow.
So, like in Vancouver, and it's kind of funny. And this is total side conversation. We're not really talking crypto here now. But like in Vancouver, for example, and I was just even retweeting this out. Yeah, I mean, you want to see how stupid it is in my country? I mean, it's almost laughable, but it is what it is. But I tweeted this out years ago, but I retweeted it the other day because it just seems so appropriate. I mean, this is what my statement is, right? Wouldn't it be logical that this kind of thinking, we could apply this to the Canadian real estate market? I mean, you've been through Bitcoin cycles now, probably a couple of them. You've seen this happen in the crypto market. Every market goes through this. It's exactly identical. But what kind of made me laugh was you want to see how bad this bubble is in Canada? Um, Look at this. This is in one of the sort of nicer neighborhoods of Vancouver.
Oh my.
Look at this. This is ridiculous.
Oh my.
Would you want to raise a family in that?
No. I mean,
So
I'll take a house is a house is a house, but yeah,
that awful.
that is
And that's a real price tag.
that's crazy. I was gonna say,
So that's the definition of Zimbabwe, right? That's the definition of Venezuela. You go and just endlessly print money, and it's going to create hyperinflation, and that's your hyperinflation right there, staring you in the face. So it's not so much that the US is in trouble, but I think it's all of these Western countries. They're all just an absolute train wreck when it comes to fundamentals. And it's not so much that the house is so valuable, it's that the currency itself is collapsing. And it's not so much that Bitcoin is so valuable, it's that the thing that you're pricing Bitcoins in is worthless. That's what I think is going to happen here. And so he sees it coming. So it is kind of interesting that he's there. If anything, this is about the biggest sales pitch you could possibly make for crypto. Now, and this is answering that question that was asked earlier on, right? So the question here is, do you think Mr. Fink buys the tops of markets or he buys the bottoms of markets?
sorry, I was just reading the chat. A house is a house, however, $2 million house should at least be better than the house. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
then that shed.
it's so
That
sad. And if anything, TBG down there, he's actually kicking the tires down in El Salvador. And I tell you, if he found a half decent property there that I could buy, maybe a couple acres for like, I don't know, 50 grand or something, man, that's awfully tempting. Awfully tempting. Anyway, so uh, Mr. Fink's going to come in. He will buy the bottom of the market.
yes.
Um, and he, of course, is going to be turning around, just like Tesla. When he thinks that Bitcoin is done, he will actually be talking about how he has no interest in Bitcoin and he has no interest in things like hedging currencies. And that was all yesterday's story. Exactly the same is what he did with ESG investing. I mean, he basically dropped ESG like a fucking hot potato. Once he was done with his Tesla investment, he didn't give a shit about what, the environment. That's just a load of. Did you know that it turns out that the Earth is actually cooling now on an annual basis? Uh-oh. Now what are all these assholes at the World Economic Forum ramming down all this? There's the old central bank governor of Canada, and these are just bureaucrats. He's now the World Economic Forum's banker, and he was like pounding the table for a $100 trillion lending program, not actual real money, just borrowing money from these banks. $100 trillion lending program to fund all this environmental bullshit. And now it turns out that actually the globe is cooling on an annual basis. Oh, that doesn't quite make any sense. So it's the same old, same old. The good part about it, of course, is if you're long Bitcoin and you're long crypto, this is music to our ears. This is exactly what we want to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be our biggest cheerleader. And how ironic. And that's the way these people are. They're so soulless that he wasn't in. So Bitcoin's a fraud. Have you ever heard Joey Diamond talk about Bitcoin? Oh, the guy makes you sick to your stomach.
Yeah.
So the point here is now that he is interested and now that he's getting long, of course, now, are you kidding? This is the next best thing since sliced bread. So, Anyway, have I said something about 6 month window prior to having events?
Yes, you have.
And how many months is it from today to the next happening event?
Um, that'd be, I don't
We can
know,
do
like
another hint. We can go
8,
August, September,
September, October,
October,
November, December.
November, December.
Yeah.
Make sure it's all on camera here. This is where it gets tough because I have a hard time counting on both hands.
December, January,
January,
February.
February, March,
Yep. April, so
April.
we're at 9. Yep, 9. All right, so we got 3 months there. Then 10.
So we only got about what, maybe 3, maybe 4 months until sort of our ultimate bottom, right? Would it
That's
make
true.
sense that this guy here is gonna start getting pounding the table to get this thing going? It makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly when he should start getting interested. Now, I could see that at the same time, too, remember, he wants to buy millions and billions and gazillions of dollars worth of this crap, right?
Yep.
Does he want to pay top dollar for this? Or does he want to pay cheap prices?
Cheap.
I think he wants to pay cheap prices. So could he call up his media owned outlets? Could he call up his owned politicians?
Drive that price down before then.
And let's encourage the public to freak out a little bit here. Let's encourage the public to actually not like Bitcoin and actually maybe even question the legality of all of this.
I
So
mean,
don't be surprised, over the next 3 or 4 months. I still like the idea that the market bottoms sometimes this fall, but also too, if this dump this fall, and you keep hearing everybody talking about, oh, there's a recession coming, there's a recession coming. I don't think that there's a recession coming, but because all the capital's in the United States and all the capital is owned, and the media outlets are owned by the capitalists and stuff like that, they're going to encourage the public to think recession, encourage the public to sell, encourage the public to get out, and of course they're going to be buying up all their
yeah.
assets. But fundamentally, actually, the United States is in the best position. This is where the sort of whose poo stinks the worst, whose poo stinks the least. And I could see an absolute economic Armageddon in a country like Canada. I could see an absolute collapse of the Canadian system. I could very easily see that. And I'd almost even be willing to go out and say, make a prediction. The Canadian economy is going to collapse. So that's a pretty bold statement.
Indeed.
But I don't think the United States has anything to worry about. So as a result, even you being in Oregon, which isn't that far away from me, you won't even hear about what happens in Canada. It won't even show up on your desktop. I mean, hell, now the way social media is engineered, the American social media outlets, they're not even going to follow what happens in Canada. They don't give a fuck. Canada's basically said, hey, you want to come here, you have to promote Canadian content. So all the U.S. Social media outlets are like, Canada? What the fuck is Canada? Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple. The only report that you're going to get that Canada's collapsing is when you and I have these conversations on Wednesdays. That's the only way you're going to know about this.
Yeah. I mean,
So how
come to
ironic.
think about like just thinking about if I'm looking at the news or anything, I very, very rarely do I see anything with Canada,
Yeah.
if at all.
In fact, I used to live in LA, right?
Uh-huh.
And my sister was part of this church group that, choirs, they did singing tours. And they actually did like a bus tour up the Pacific coast. And they actually crossed into Canada. And the girls, because she was a girl, obviously girlfriends and stuff, they couldn't believe that there was electricity in Canada. They
No
honestly
way.
couldn't believe it.
We're not Amish.
So anyway, so This is an interesting commentary on our future in crypto. And I've said all along, of course, I bought some Bitcoins well, actually, I was donated them over the years by many different people who watch these videos that I would do. I would put like sort of donation addresses and stuff up. And I was donated the better part of 3 Bitcoins. And I say the day that I can buy a house with those 3 Bitcoins, I will cash them in, and I will buy that house for my son because my son needs a home for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are all going to help finance him, and I definitely believe if Bitcoin does go to $500,000 US of Bitcoin, then I could very easily see that would probably be about 2 or 3 million Canadian. And hey, 2 or 3 million Canadian, maybe I can actually afford to go buy him his house. Hey, look at that!
Yeah.
There's Liam's home. 2 or 3 Bitcoins.
That's awesome.
Anyway, me being facetious.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a conversation about the BlackRock question. Hopefully that spoke to it.
Yeah.
Circling back around to this QNT question. Don't know whether this is all of the data for these
Let's
things.
see.
That's always an interesting
Maybe check
question itself.
KuCoin maybe?
Might have more data, might actually have less. I think KuCoin actually, well, actually, it looks like it has a bit more data. Yeah, there you go. So it sure looks to me like there's your floor. Interesting how this candle right here came back down into that bottoming candle bar there. Right here, sort of 6.5 one, 6.5 to 1, half dozen of the other. Might just simply say the downtrend ended here. A little bit too much of a rally, methinks, off of these lows, kind of straight up. Remember Brian, he likes to see W's. So I would have preferred to see a serious test of this low, because what ends up happening if you have a shallow test of that low is then you start drawing trend lines, and this trend line's actually pretty steep, So it's like there to there. And not a big surprise, notice. This is a good example where trend lines can act as support, but if they're lost, they can actually act as resistance. So I think that's what's going on there now.
Okay.
If there is going to be any rally down the road, I would draw this trend line on your chart. And if we smack up into this trend line from the underside, kind of like this or this, that's probably not a bad place for you to think about letting them have some. I mean, I suppose you could argue this might be trend continuation, but trend continuation usually aren't value trades. They're like momentum trades. So that means that trend continuation, we want to ask whether we have at least a 33% retracement and no more than a 66% retracement.
Why 33?
Well, what we're
Just
really
rule
looking
of thumb.
symmetrical. Oh, excuse me, a symmetrical move.
Okay.
And the most symmetrical of AB equals CDs would actually be a 50% retracement. So in fact, on our library, our harmonics cheat sheet, the classic sort of symmetrical move in the market is this AB equals CD pattern. I think I've told you about this before.
Yep.
So that's what it looks like right there. A to B, C to D, and it's notice how it's perfectly symmetrical. So all the lines are equal distance, and it makes like a nice what is that, a trapezoid? I'm not quite sure what
Trapezoid sounds right.
name of that
Diamond.
that sort of cockeyed square is. But everything here is symmetrically equal, right? So this would be, and you can even see here, right? This could technically go as high as 78.6, but the further this goes, and ideally we would like this to be 50%, the A to B to C to be absolutely perfectly symmetrical. So the further this goes, the less likelihood we are to actually be breaking these lows. Because you notice 61.8, 78.6. If we look at, say, like this, X to A to B, notice that's 78.6. Then if we rally back up and test the high, we might roll over and actually go through those lows. Or, here's an example. Actually, this is a really good example. If X to A to B is 88.6 of that entire move, then actually this might even be saying that we have to go materially lower than that level. Also, too, here's a good example. This is 38.2 to 50%. So if we don't even do 50%, but then we have a huge rally back up that goes all the way right back up and tests the top here, then you might find that D actually doesn't even do A, B, C, D. I guess A, B, C, D would be here, but it actually goes quite a bit further beyond 1.618. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is we want these moves to be as symmetrical as possible. So, when I do like, that's the first part of the move. Ideally, what I'd love to see is that the pullback is almost exactly 50% of that move. WD GAN, there's your WD GAN reference.
Yep.
And then what should happen is quite literally, and maybe we change this to blue so you can see it a little better. What should happen is we should get a replication of this move once this has been completed. And ideally, we would like to see this right around that 50% level. So for me to still believe that this is a symmetrical move, that A, B, C, D, I'm not going to insist that it has to be exactly 50%, but what I'm just going to simply say is I'd like that retracement to be in and around that 50%. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to say I want to see the move be, and I guess I'm going to have to manually dump this in. Want to see the move has to be at least 33, then no more than 66. So it's this teal line is somewhere in this window.
Okay.
Now, could you correct all the way down here and this actually be an A, B, C, D there? Yeah, you could. And remember, this is just a game of statistics. So what I'm really saying here is if I can get this A to B, then the C, or A to B, B to C, if I can get this leg to come within this 33 to 66% window, then the statistical odds of this being a continuation pattern and me being able to hunt an entry through here and have a relatively high degree of probability that the market wants to go up to this level, the statistics go way up. And that's really what this is all about, right? Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you for that.
Is it
That was
written
interesting.
in stone? No. I've seen plenty of markets that do things like that. But the statistical probability that this is going to be a nice, simple, symmetrical move, that diminishes if we do go beyond this window. And if we don't even get to 33, then what you might find is that this is actually nothing more than a leg in this original bull move. And we still have to actually ask, maybe this wasn't the correction that we're looking for to set up that A to B to C to D, that actually this is the move here, something like that to that. And what we're really looking for is a move like there, which sets up this whole move from here all the way down to here as the A to B. So if I don't even get 33%, then maybe this is not even the top yet. And what's worse is maybe this might actually be setting up a divergence scenario where you have higher highs in price, but then you look down at your indicator and you see that the indicator did not make a higher high in price. And there you've got your bear divergence. And actually, this is now a top. Maybe get an M there, and that's actually a sell. So, I mean, I know you said like Y33 and Y66, and you
Yeah.
want a nice simple answer. It's complicated.
Yeah. Understandable after like that explanation. I get what you mean there.
What I would just simply say is we're statisticians by nature, and for this to be a continuation pattern with as a relatively high degree of probability, we would ideally like to see this A to B move correct at least 33, but no more than 66. I don't know whether that
Make a
makes
note
sense,
of that.
but that would be my cop-out answer for it. So, with all that said, we're kind of off topic here again. But if I'm just looking at this price chart in itself, I guess what I saw and sort of what headed me down in that sort of bullish bot kind of thinking. There's 50%, so we could put on the 33, and then maybe we'll go over here. We'll do like 0.66. So 33, 66. So this one even went a little bit beyond 66 here. So I'm even not overly impressed with doing a bot off of this. So actually, this is actually a really good example of you saying, well, why do you have to do 66? And if we go beyond 66, can we still consider it? I would be more skeptical. That's probably the best way to describe it. But if this is an AB equals CD, then we want to throw on our bot levels. So we want to see 50%. We've got 66 already on here. We'll change this to 25. And let's see if we have that going the right direction. Nope, it's backwards. So let's go and reverse that. So interesting how 25 is setting up off of this market structure level. If this is a bot and you want to assume that, hey, we're awfully close to 66, I'm going to give this thing the benefit of the doubt. And if we do put in 3 higher lows and I can sneak my way in off this 143 area, I'm going to shoot for a tag of 287 on the upside. What I would say is ideally I'd like to see, bullish market structure on other sides of trend lines. So it is interesting here how we have 1, 2, never even really did get there. We have a third one here. So we're having a real fight at this trend line as we speak right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, we'd love to see 3 higher lows here. So we've got 1 low. And interesting, it looks like those lows held, eh? So that low there is 94.41.6, 96, 95. So yeah, they did hold.
Nice.
This is 96.5. So this low is lower. So what I would say now is we've got 1 low, you've got 2 lows. We're breaking the trend line. So what you'd really want to see now is you want to see a full W on the other side of that trend line. And that would give you sort of 1, 2, 3 all clustered in here, which I think would be really good. Sort of, we're going to work my stop below this key support line down here. So I'm not going to necessarily say it's a sell. I think you're too late to be a seller here. And I think you're probably a little bit too early to be a buyer here. The moving averages, you can see how they rolled over and they're actually pointing down now. And you could make the argument, kind of like you can see the AB equals CD here. So you could go A to B and then clone that. C to D. So this is technically pointing down. And we are making lower highs and lower lows here. So we're nowhere near a buy here just yet. You're going to need to see this kind of price action for you to say, yes, this is a buy. Right now, I suppose you could maybe take this study and change it to reload zones. And my hunch is, 78.6 is probably the magic number here. It almost always is. So there's 78.6. And notice A, B, C, D's. That would take us below 78.6. And interesting how we have this original down, up, down breakout. So that level is right there. So you can kind of see we have this double bottom here. We have this AB equals CD. We've got Brian's favorite fib. We've got this tail, right? We said wicks and tails like to be eaten. What did we call an area on the price chart where you see a whole bunch of reasons that if we happen to come into this area, right, we could say,
Confluence.
yeah, horizontal support and resistance, original market structure, 78.6, AB equals CD, right? And actually we had this on that one. I would say that something along these lines, confluence, right? So if I
Feels
was
good when I get those right. I take those small victories there.
slow and steady, right? Do you know roughly how long I've been playing this game?
30 years.
It's a fucking long time, right? So when you get 30 years from now, can you even imagine where you're going to be in your life 30 years from now? So
owe it
when
all to
you get
you.
to that point, you'll know this stuff backwards. You can say it all in your sleep.
Looking forward to that day.
So if somebody was coming to me and saying, Brian, where would you like to see a bottom come in? I think I'd like to see a bottom come in down here, believe it or not. Also, too, what kind of bothers me about this, like I said, they really flirted with this level here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could then theoretically go A to B. Make that orange. And we could go C to D. Uh-oh. And that would take us down to new lows here. So, if anything, your confluence window, it starts at the top of that A, B, C, D. It goes all the way down to here. Because we could probably also do like a Foggenbaum like this, up, down, up, fail. So there was some sort of reversal right in here. So we could do chaos theory, so 2.618, 4.669s. And where does that take us? Ooh, look at that. So we got 2.618 is that level. So that's why the market stopped on those levels there. You see that?
Yeah.
It's cool how that's worked so well as a predictor, right?
Yeah, really.
And if we puke out here and lose these lows, well, there's 4.669 all the way down there, which is basically just a test of the original lows. Does that make sense?
It does. I love when it just shows up and it's the exact same as like the resistance levels that you hit. It's just like it's a beautiful sight.
Yeah, well, if anything, this is a pretty good confluence level in there. And it's now up to the market to actually validate that, yes, this is a bottom. And the way that we will know that this is a bottom is we need to see W's in price action. So we got to see, the most important thing here, what the hell, I guess we'll just leave all this crap on here. The most important thing that I want to see here is I want to see this W form here. And if this W does form here, then the moving averages will probably turn back up. You can see how the fast moving average really hugs price. Slow moving average is working its way down. If we do W out here and then turn back up, these moving averages will cross back bullish. Is it, this is one of these, what type of risk taker you are. If you're going to take a trade like this bot kind of trade, then if we lose these lows, you got to get the hell out of it. You have to walk. If you're like, well, Brian, I really like the fundamental story, and you said that if I pull up a chart and there's the entire range, and we are at or below reload zones, which is basically where we are right now. There's Brian's favorite fib for the entire range. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically where we are right now, right? So I'm going to start going and just accumulating this thing, nibbling, little old lady, that kind of talk. I don't have a problem with that. But is this a trade right here now? No. And then, of course, we haven't even talked about fundamentals. I don't know what the story is that's driving this. But and you have that special assignment, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say
So
I'll
this would
do
be
my
a good
research on it just to see what if it catches my eye there.
Well, so this is a good example where you might look into the fundamentals and you go, well, Brian, these guys are trying to solve this problem. So as a result, I really think it is a big problem in our society. And I think that if they can pull it off, they will basically reinvent the wheel. So you can see what I put on here, 2.618, 4.669s, 877s. Not quite sure why that looks like that. There we go. So can you see how this W here, it projected this consolidation zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually this is something that you can take to the bank. Notice how 4669, the market just blew right through that level.
Yeah.
If you see that happen, then notice there's the next chaos level. Look where we stopped.
Boom.
I mean, like literally right on that level. So this is kind of a handy tool to keep in your back pocket if you understand chaos theory. Again, watch the videos that I did for Coinigy as a tutorial on that, or maybe take our education program. I think we teach it a lot in the education program. But really good analogy of what happens if we just blow right through 4669s. We're probably going right up to 877. So this move's done, and really higher highs and higher lows. This is the one reason why I don't really mind buying W breakouts, because this implies much higher in price. If this was on volume and strong momentum, it's not a bad trade idea. So what I'd really want to see here is, I mean, what are the indicators saying? Are they actually pointing up yet? So we'll just leave it at MACD for this one in particular. This actually is a really good lesson in potential versus confirmed. So you notice that the lows are higher here in the MACD histogram. So that's a good sign. I would call this potentially divergent. And actually, it's interesting that this is the low that's associated with those lows. So that is in divergence. Those are lower lows. That's higher lows. This will become a confirmed divergence if we can get up, MACD can get up through this high here. So remember I had said earlier, I want to see a push up away from this trend line. Then I want to see a W. So what'll end up happening out of the MACD histogram is this push up here, if it does come, we don't know if it will or not. That should confirm the double bottom in MACD, and this now goes from a potential divergence to a confirmed divergence. Once that has happened, then you have trade location, Brian's big fat fib right there that he loves. You have indicator confirmation, W in MACD, lower lows in price. Then we get the W in price, and that's our 3 reasons to justify taking a trade.
Beautiful.
So just be patient on this one. What I would say is now, while this thing's consolidating, if you're interested in this game, now is when you want to go and find out who's actually behind this story. Who are the principals? Is it Satoshi Nakamoto? I think I've heard of that guy once or twice.
I think so.
Is it Gavin McLeod? I think that's his name. Gavin something. Anyway, he was one of the principals in Bitcoin. Is it Charlie Lee? Is it Alan? Oh, Jesus. I don't know. But find out who's actually behind the story. What problem are they trying to solve? Do you believe in this story? Is there any way that you can find out where insiders or institutional players are long this name? Ideally, you'd love to do some research and find out that actually, yeah, this double bottom breakout, that was on news that Larry Fink at BlackRock Capital went and bought $1 million worth of this thing. I don't know. So while this thing's consolidating, while it's setting up a base, now is the time to go and do your due diligence.
Sounds great. Well, I'm excited for our next show so that'll be 2 weeks from today. But I'm excited to kind
You
of
got
really
a lot of
crank
work.
up. I know. That's
Got
why it's nice.
video.
I got some homework to do, but I mean that's how I'm gonna get better and really understand how to do this thing on my own. So I'm excited to do the homework. So
You've got to get familiar with CoinGecko and doing
I am.
fundamental research on names. Good part about it is you work within a community where you should be able to just like call up Will and say, so
Yeah.
what cryptocurrencies do you like right here? Actually, this is one that one of our site members likes. And you tell me, is there any letter of the alphabet that's kind of jumping out at us right there? Down, up,
Seeing
down, up,
some dubs.
right there.
Yeah.
And if you're surfing through these sites and you're looking for trade ideas, that's Mr. Frax right there. So he's saying that's the stable coin. I don't know what that means, but W's are W's are W's.
It's FXS.
He likes the FXS thing. But anyway, all I saw this W. And whenever I see W's, Brian, he's gonna be like, oh boy. So he wants us to look at the actual this is the thing that he likes, the Frax shares.
Okay.
What this thing looks like. Oh well, there you go. What letter of the alphabet do you see?
It's more M's.
Well, I see down.
Oh yeah, W
I
there.
see up. I see down, and I see it move through these eyes. And actually, this is a good example. Remember we had said earlier about harmonics, because sometimes you actually see M's inside bigger W's, and oh boy, that's uber bullish. But just on a relative basis, look where this thing's come. Do you think Brian's going to be interested in a name that looks like that?
Yes.
I mean, that's got me written all over it. Written all over it too, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
So John says FXS is bullish, but that's a 24-hour chart. Yeah, I suppose all these fun little lower time run. I just was surfing through the CoinGecko just sheet here, and if you want a place to start your research on a daily basis, is just scroll through this and look for well-defined W's like that. That Frax stablecoin that we just showed you, right? I mean, just surf through and try and find ideas that are doing this. And if anything, because this is a stable coin, is that a bullish vote of crypto or is that a bearish vote? If the stable coin is bullish.
Bullish.
I would say actually that's bearish of crypto.
Interesting.
And look at these charts. I mean, we just go through it from the top. I mean, there's actually that's Ethereum. Actually, Bitcoin doesn't look too bad, but let's see. There, look at this one, ADA. Look at that little double top that's coming in there. Can you see the M up, down, up, fail? So it fell through these levels right in here, that low right there, and boom, down she goes. And I'm seeing a lot of that after the holiday weekend. Look at this one, the Polygon, the Matic, same sort of thing. So up, down, up, fail. Can you see the M?
Yeah.
So I see a lot of that. And that would explain that why we see the stable coins Wing out. People are probably panic dumping these things and they're buying up the stable coins to try and get out. And, that's a big bombshell, and that's this jerk over here and the SEC and all that. I mean, we still have this tether thing to deal with, and maybe it's this fall where the stable coins finally get their comeuppance. I don't know.
I do want to show you one thing. So if you go to the Coinigy.com page, where you just were there and go to Explore up in the right. I'm sorry, up in the left where you just were going. Explore. Left side, next to the Coinigy logo. Yep, there, and then go cryptocurrencies.
Cool. All right. Yeah, you got it all here as well.
Yeah, that's something that in the we really wanted to make use of in the redesign. So
Interesting. You'd see Tether actually emming out here. You might find that actually there's a bunch of people dumping tethers and piling into those frac stable coins. But you could use the same logic. Oh,
yeah,
look at that Binance USD. Is that their stable coin? It's topping out.
yeah,
Maybe we're having Binance issues here. Who knows?
yeah. Similar concept. I think it's still getting kind of fine tuned in some parts of it, but it's something that we've really tried to um, like I don't know, work on, have something similar, similar offering to CoinMarketCap. But
see, here's a good example. I mean, you look at this and you can see lower highs and lower lows. Something clearly wrong with Monero here. So, I might, if I was interested in buying, I might take a look at this TRX. Notice we're breaking out. That's a W there. That's happening.
people evacuating into stable coins.
That Tether is ending out.
Yeah. And then
Binance USD is ending out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a war against these stable coins here in the not too distant future.
I would not be surprised. We did get another request, DCR USDT if there's time.
DCR, is that Decred? DCR. I suppose we can do Binance. USDT, yeah, Decred. These guys actually, man, I was in these guys ever since day one. They were kind of the ones that actually we don't really have that much data here. And it's such a shame that we just don't have that much data on these darn things. There's good old Trex. So you can see over in Trex it was there a little bit longer. Where's maybe Polo? Polo might have some data.
Nope. They
Yeah.
added it late.
What's up?
They must have added it late. That pair.
Yeah. So you can see Decred actually was one of the first names that started the 2017 bull market.
Okay.
And there is your 2017, 2018 altcoin bull market right there.
That was a fun time.
So this was actually one of the very first names that started to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if this coming bull cycle, it will be one of the first names to actually bottom. I always remember these guys. They were relatively well respected in the space. Kind of hoping we could look at this versus dollar. I just don't really see a hobby. Actually, they've been around a long time. I don't know whether we're going to get that much data with it. Hey, there we go. Well, it's going back to 2017.
Ugly Wickham.
Okay, so there you can see, and this is ultimately what we want to see. Remember I had said Decred's probably like one of the ones that will lead. Notice this is that 2020 bottom, and that right there is where altcoins went absolutely apeshit crazy, eh?
Yeah.
So make a note of that. Remember March of 2020?
COVID.
This was the sickness.
Yeah.
That was, should we debate mortgage future? Shut the fuck up and give them all the money they want, right? That market right there. Market puts in this very wide, well-defined bottom. As soon as it breaks out through the W there, off to the races we go. And you could probably also draw things like, might even just go off of here, something like that. So 1, 2, 3, break, give me a W on the other side of trend lines. Maybe you could use that, maybe not, I don't know. You could use that peak there. And really all I care is I just want to see a W over here. I think that's a cute little W right there. So that's probably even in a reload zone. So this is ideally what you want to see. 78.6, we'll just leave it on for simplicity. So there's Brian, 78.6, pretty textbook. 61.8 would be right in there.
Yeah.
So that's ideally what we want to see to let us know that we have a bull. So we'll leave this on the screen, and what we want to see is a break of long-term downtrends, W's on other sides of trend lines, away we go. And one hell of a rally, eh? So, do we have the break of downtrend lines here? We do have there to there. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's not bad. There is this. I have no idea what the hell this is.
some gross
Um,
candlestick.
do we actually see that same kind of price action on these other exchanges? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. Go over to Binance. No, see, it's gone. So just try and remember that other chart, right? So there is our downtrend. So 1, 2, 3, broken. Can I get a W now? Looks like the market tried to W here, eh? So what are these lows? 1850, 1830, 1820. Oh, boo, hiss, boo. So do you see how that's a lower low?
Yeah.
So then, ironically enough, actually, this is what they call a megaphone. So there to there, it is a downward sloping line. Yeah. So as it stands, not quite a W.
No.
Then you might also even do another one like this too. There to there. So you can see how it really fought at this level. It really did not want to break down here. Then puked out, then rallied right back to that level, consolidated, tried to break through it, and look how we're just sitting right on that trend line, eh?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, this thing's just not ready to go yet. And then if we go like down trend lines, 1, 2, 3, that looks pretty solid. What all this means to me, right? Because we've broken this one. What this means to me is what I really want to see is hold these trend lines, try and get back above these downtrend lines, but see if we can get back above here. And then can we please have a nice W here? And if we got something like that, then I think you're ready to rock and roll.
Understandable.
What I actually could see happening here, which wouldn't be shocking, is rally up into this level all the way up here through some sort of summer crypto silly season. Then a pullback down into these lows. And then that creates what type of pattern? What do you think I'm thinking?
They're creating an M if it doesn't make it back up. Are you saying no W? Wait. It's one or the other. So yeah, I'd say W. I don't know what
What do you think I'm thinking?
Adam, I need you. Oh, Head and Shoulders. Yeah.
You see what I'm seeing there?
Yes. Up into,
so that means this is still really early. We just made a new low like basically a month ago, right? So there's no hurry here whatsoever. This is actually what I would say is I'm from Missouri. Why would I say I'm from Missouri? Any ideas?
No clue, to be honest with you.
What is the state motto of Missouri? You're an American, right?
I am, but I don't. I'm from Wisconsin, and I'm living in Oregon. I don't know. I don't know Missouri's.
Hey, did you hear about those people in the fair in Wisconsin?
No.
They got trapped in a roller coaster, and the roller coaster stopped upside down.
Oh.
They had to sit in the roller coaster frozen at the very top, completely upside down for like 3 hours.
Sounds like all the blood going to your head. Not very fun.
Yeah.
The show me state.
Hey, there you
go. John says, when in doubt, whip it out.
When in doubt, whip it out. Okay. Anyway, so the point here is can you understand that I need to see a lot for me to actually go, hey,
Yeah.
that's bullish.
No, I see what
I
you
want to get
mean.
in there. Does
That's,
that make sense?
yes, definitely.
That's why I say I'm from Missouri.
Gotcha.
You got to show me. And what I really want to see is I want to see a W right over here. This would be like if we, and this, like you can see September, October, November. This is basically the entire fall, the rest of the summer, the fall, and then heading into the new year, 6 months prior to the happening event kind of idea. This is what I'd like to see to justify taking a serious shot at this thing down here. So we're still very, very early. But as I
Cool.
showed you before, man, when this thing bottoms, I mean, look at that cute little W there, eh? When this thing W's out, woo wee, there is a lot of money to be made on this thing.
Yeah.
But it's just not here yet. So my apologies. Suppose you could also argue if this is a head and shoulders, then what did we want to see? And we're not seeing it, unfortunately. But what did we want to see from price action with regard to indicators? We wanted to see divergence, eh?
Yes.
And we don't even have any divergence here yet. So I don't even think this is even a bottom yet, which sucks. There's no hurry here, folks. There just isn't. I would just be patient, let the W's form, let this thing get back in, above these trend line levels. Give us some W's, give us some bullish divergence in indicators and that kind of thing. And then maybe we can think about it. There are other names like, what was there? There was one name I couldn't believe it when I saw it the other day. I was just like, I can't believe this thing looks like this. KMD. So if we look at this one, notice how, and actually this guy's kind of failing too a little bit now, right? So, oh yeah. Yeah, well, maybe even this one doesn't look nearly as good as I thought. But notice how this one did not go to new lows recently. But at the same time, too, I don't like the look of this momentum here either. Yuck. Stuff looks very suspect. If anything, here, I suppose what I'm going to have to see is I'm going to have to see a lower low in price, but then the MACD does not make a lower low to get that divergence. So, there's a lot of names in this space that still need cleaning up. Actually, it's interesting because I was getting bullish of this thing on the daily charts. It was looking really interesting. See, there is a bull div there on the dailies. And it is trying to W out here, but that weekly chart does not look good. If anything, I kind of like sticking with the weekly charts with you guys because this will keep you honest in this game. They always say a good trade is a good trade is a good trade. So there's no way this thing's going to the moon unless this weekly chart actually does look bullish.
Understandable.
So, and unfortunately, actually, that does not look bullish. That looks like a bear div right there. Yuck.
Yeah,
Anyway, I was actually seriously thinking about buying some more this year, but I don't like the look of that. That gives me a bit of pause. What was the other one that I saw this morning? I can't remember it off the top of my head. There were a few names that were looking interesting. I know somebody asked us to look at Link there a few minutes ago. Maybe we can sneak that one in. We'll stay on Binance here for the time being. Keep in mind, folks, that everybody in North America is going to be kicked off of Binance here for pretty soon.
Yeah, I know crypto.com I know is also just no longer accepting US customers. So
Who?
crypto.com I don't know.
I
They're
didn't even know they were a site.
they I don't know. They just have like infinity ad money. Basically, it looks like they just bought the Los Angeles Lakers stadiums naming rights, so it's just crypto.com arena. But
Usually, actually, that's a really, really bad sign. You never ever want to invest in a company that bought the rights to name sports stadiums. Never, ever, 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 ever. So that's not a good sign.
interesting.
Interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I saw something. We don't have them on Coinigy, but
Crypto.com. I don't think what is that? Didn't Roger Ver buy that website?
I'm not sure, but I feel like in the U.S. that's you see their advertisements all the time, like on the app stores. They're always just, I feel
And
like
no
they're
Americans are allowed to do anything.
they just did it like as of last week or last month or something like that. So,
Huh.
yeah,
Yeah, so there you go. TBG saying that's when FTX was toast when they
yeah,
bought the rights to the Miami
yeah.
arena.
CRO coin is there.
CRO. Oh, that's the one Stewart. He likes that, right? Didn't they have a credit card?
Yes,
I don't
they do.
remember.
They do.
Well, I gotta tell you, that's a bad sign. You never, ever, ever want to hear your investment has gone and bought the rights to name the sports stadiums. It's not a
Especially,
good sign, folks. Sorry. Anyway, looking at this link, same sort of thing, man. Momentum just does not look happy
yeah.
here at all.
Adam said they bought that at the end of 2021.
They bought the arena name end of 2021. Huh,
But yeah,
interesting.
just remember that.
Okay, let's see. 7:30. So we've been going on
Yeah,
here for 2.5 hours.
it's a bit of a break, so maybe we can get a quick one on Link and wrap her up.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys. This looks like shit. Doesn't look good.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
So again, personal bias. I like Chico Crypto, and I think he does some half decent research. I think his name's Tyler, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
I
So I don't really mind Nanny nibbling, coming in and buying value at the bottom end of a trading range. I was kind of hoping that, through the whole Shanghai and, let's ramp up for this coming bull, that this thing was bottoming and getting ready for a half decent rally, but that rally has totally exhausted itself and it's actually broken down. You might even argue, which really sucks horse, what, that because this is an M and we broke through that, you can actually do fog and bombs to the downside, which means, there's a couple we could do there to there. That would be a really simple one. And we'll have to change this to a logarithmic study. Oh, okay, I already have that. So that paints a price objective. There you go. $3.15. And it wouldn't surprise me. It actually is perfectly realistic. I think you could also probably do a fog and bomb from that up down to that low and then back up to that high. So that paints $2.43. Is there any reason why Link should be this price? Problem with these tokens, and I don't know, I don't think Link is POW, is it? I'm sure it's not that big. Yeah, Adam, actually, I even the local stadium in down in Seattle, CenturyLink.
yeah.
They bought the Seattle Seahawks stadium naming rights, and CenturyLink is gone now. It's poof. See you later. So don't ever buy a name that has the rights to name sports stadiums. It's just a total waste of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so is Link a POS or is it a POW? Maybe it could be a POS and a POS. I don't know. But what's the value of one of these coins? This is where this shit gets really dangerous. I have no idea how you come up with the value of one Link. No idea at all. I would say on balance, historically, interestingly enough, if we actually change this to a logarithmic chart, where we are right now, actually, you can see there's still a lot of room to explore to the downside. Look at the size of this crazy ass tail. I don't know what the hell that is.
So about a year ago, August 8th, 2022, Cointelegraph article. Chainlink ditches Ethereum POW forks for POS after the merge.
All right, so it is a POS name, giving
Yeah.
into the total political correctness and all that bullshit. But the problem here is I have no idea how you would actually value one link. I would say on a logarithmic scale, I'm liking this 230 area. Notice that's chaos off of that original M top, 244. And then we have this 2.618 and this 2.618. And that's actually just off of this recent M. So I really like, remember I used that term confluence before. So I really like this area as a confluence area for link, which is a shame because it does mean that we could take a bit of a haircut here. And remember, we still have this September, October, November troughing window, I think, coming up for Bitcoin and crypto. So the fact that we broke to new lows, that's just not a good sign. Not a good sign at all.
So,
And I would say that I don't know about this crazy ass candle, but that low, that low, that low. Clearly somebody stepped up and stopped the selling against these levels. So, there's your confluence window all the way down there, folks. Yuck. And then, if we just say, can I please have a W on the other sides of trend lines? I mean, hell, we're not even back to the trend line, let alone breaking the W or breaking the downtrend and putting in a W on the other side of trend lines. I mean, I suppose you could argue that maybe there's something to do here. Boom, 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 boom. But the fact that we just put in this M means to me that, that's almost like a flat line trend line. But because this M now is confirmed, I think you can actually draw a trend line off of those highs. So that means in the short term, at the very minimum, we're going to have to see some sort of third test of that trend line. Then we have to see a break of it. Then we have to see a W on the other side of it for me to actually turn bullish here again. It's going to take a lot of work for this thing to turn bullish in earnest. If we're really lucky and this was just nothing more than a head fake, then what this should be is some sort of inverted head and shoulders where there's your left shoulder, there's your neckline. Maybe we're making the head now. Then a revisit of the neckline, then our right shoulder, and away we go. But again, this is just like the other name we looked at, and hopefully you guys are hearing a bit of a reoccurring theme here. I'm from Missouri. Mm-hmm. So I need to see a lot of constructive price action here before I can actually start getting bullish on this stuff again. This is going to take a while to clean up, folks.
Understandable. Well,
and I guess, the one thing that really bugged me, Joe.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a little bit less than a month ago, before I went on that vacation.
Yeah.
I was going on, I always make reference back to Alan and how socially irresponsible that gentleman is.
Yep.
And now, he let this asset get bid up to the moon. And then he even went on popular television stations and stuff and never mentioned for a moment how risky and how dangerous joining him on this Doge idea was up top here. In fact, didn't even make reference to this at all. Made a very tertiary reference, if I'm not mistaken, to maybe speculating in the market isn't for everybody, but that's not an outright, you're crazy to be buying this, which he should have if he had any kind of conscience. But fortunately, I actually think a lot of capitalists are sociopaths,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they really have a conscience. And in a weird sort of way, I actually think Alan is quite sociopathic. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Point here is I remember social media every bloody, YouTube was just filled with buy this crypto, buy that crypto, buy crypto, buy crypto, crypto, crypto. And of course, half of the people doing the analysis just were stunningly wrong in the speech that they were using and all that. So I kind of noticed the same thing happening this spring, which is a little bit bothersome. So this SOL was a good example where there's this one website. They're brand new, of course, very polished, not like us and our crazy YouTube antics. These guys had everything just insanely polished, just the most perfect marketing shell. They had like a raffle for a Rolex watch. Hey, do we want to raffle off a Rolex watch here? I bet you we could get 100,000 views and subscribers to Coinigy if we raffled off a Rolex watch.
Yeah.
But that's how good their shill was. I mean, these guys were marketing experts. And I actually listened to one of these guys, and this was before I took my little vacation there. And it was one of sort of the reasons why I was like, I need a break from this. These guys are idiots. And of course, they were shilling how wonderful they thought SOL is. And I still think that this is a train wreck. And of course, lower highs and lower lows. I mean, this thing I think is still a sell. But a really good example that there really is no bullish case to be made here. This thing just looks like a mess. And yet these guys that were technical experts were showing they had 10,000 people viewing their videos and stuff. And they were shilling about how wonderful this thing was. Back actually right around my birthday, right? And we all know when it's Brian's birthday, what should we be doing in crypto? And you can see, man, they got their head handed to them there into early June.
Yeah.
So I did start to see that. And I think it was a function of this seasonal rally. You're supposed to buy when it snows, sell when it goes. That's how the trade goes. And the public was coming in very, very hard here. And that was a bad warning sign. Kind of like, you ever heard of a guy named Hugh Hendry?
I don't think so.
Anyway, he had been talking recently about how he thinks gold was just a little bit too well loved by the public. Too many people were bullish of gold. And I don't know whether you've seen what gold prices have done over the past while, but gold prices got pretty beat up there. Where's our gold chart? So, into that sell in May and walk away.
Yeah.
This is what gold has done over the past couple months. And, Hugh went on big business channels and stuff like that. And they were like, hey, what about gold? What about gold? And he's like, I don't want to touch gold with a 10-foot pole. It's too low. Too many people in the public are wrong. And in a weird sort of way, and you can see what's happened here. And in a weird sort of way, I see very, very similar kind of talk in Bitcoin and, well, not so much Bitcoin, but in crypto, especially the altcoins. And the way that the public got so incredibly emotionally charged around the SEC and Gensler and all that crap. I mean, he was just basically calling a spade a spade. This is an unregulated space. It's corrupt as fuck, everybody. That's half of the reason why it's so damn important for us to trade setups and be obsessive about risk management, because these people will steal your money in a heartbeat if they can. And, this is a good example, this SOL. I still hear people talking bullishly of this thing. And I don't like the look of this at all.
That's the people that still have their money in it and are just trying to hype it
Well,
up.
there's that, right? And I might argue that people only talk bullishly about things when they actually are long, right? And they've got a vested interest.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so all those kids got super insanely angry at Gensler for just simply calling a spade a spade. I mean, is it fun? I think it was highly politically motivated, typical capitalism. But just the reaction from the crypto kids through that event told me that they were long, and that I think there still needs to be some more pain in this space before we can actually quote unquote bottom. So anyway, if you want to use this as a good analogy, I don't see any bottoms here anywhere in sight. I suppose maybe if we're lucky, if we change this to like a regular chart, maybe if we're lucky. I mean, you know me, right? I want to see, your grade 3 English teacher says, Joe, can you please go up to the chalkboard and draw me a good looking W?
Yeah.
And it looks something like that. If it looks like this, oh God, there's no bottom there. Same thing here. And, we just made a new low. Is this a bottom? I don't think so. So, and I'm seeing a lot of names. I mean, the 3 or 4 names that we looked at tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, they all look very similar, right? You keep hearing me say that I'm from Missouri. Well, same thing here. I mean, I'm from Missouri. I need to see bottoms. I need to see this thing calm down, not be so spiky. Hell, I need to see even, just a period of sideways, not so insanely volatile, before I can actually believe that there's some sort of bottom here. I just don't see it yet. Anyway. All right. Well,
Yeah.
enough of that nonsense.
Well,
TBG says, how's render these days? RND. All right. Should we look at RND? Thought it was RNDR. Yeah, I think you left out a letter there. TBG, you know that I'm a value guy, right? So as a result, I still don't think that this is in a value window. Don't say anything to Sjord. You know what Sjord's gonna say. Sjord's our CTO. He loves this name, but he loves it from a fundamental perspective. So if anything, this is the reason. I'm not quite sure why this is not updating. Maybe we were supposed to stop talking there.
maybe we'll take a look at it for the next show. We can start out the next one, and if it's not,
I mean,
going
what
well.
I'll tell you, TBG, and we can talk about it on the site tomorrow, is I think this is maybe setting up a bot, but a bot trade is not value. And I'm a value guy. Hey, there we go. Yeah. I mean, you can see exactly where. I mean, this isn't actually difficult. This is pretty easy, right? Where's Brian going to be interested in buying this thing? Probably 78.6 to 61.8, right? Good old reload zones. And you can see exactly where that is on the charts. So there's just no way I could buy this here. That's just not me. Couldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So that's this is probably the easiest answer to give tonight. Simple. I can't touch it. You know what we'd say with this thing? This is what we'd say, but I don't know. We might get into copyright laws for this. But do you remember this? So, and the winner, 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 and the winner. You know how it goes? I bet we're not allowed to play this, are we? We'll get into trouble. And the winner, and the winner, and the winner, and the winner, and the winner. Can't touch this. This was basically the high point in this guy's life.
That's awesome.
So my advice to you is don't aspire to hit your peak in your 20s, because then it's just all downhill from there. So anyway, whenever I see an asset that looks like that RNDR, I have to play the MC Hammer song. Can't touch this. Just simple as that.
Well, thank you, Brian, for everything tonight, and thank you for everyone that kind of came back, joined us again through those technical issues. Still not exactly sure what happened. Just kind of start saying no data, but we appreciate all of you guys who are tuning in each week and keeping the conversation going. We enjoy it. We hope you guys are enjoying it as well. So, on that note, I guess, Brian, if you got anything else?
Just FYI, a couple pointers about YouTube videos. Actually, I'm going to send you this. This is what ChatGPT suggested that we do to fix our YouTube feed. And maybe you might read through
I
this and
definitely
see a
will.
pointer or two. Like I noticed they say make sure you're using the latest version of OBS. I don't even know if you
I
are or not.
did. I did
But
update it.
I'm going to send that to you as maybe a little helper.
Yeah, we're
Um,
gonna get these wounds licked, and like I said, no show next week, but we're gonna come back with me with all my homework done. I'm gonna have some research done and present Brian some fundamental analysis that I did. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm gonna be
yeah, you got a lot of work ahead of
and
you.
Money Masters,
Yeah.
watching that. So
I'd
yes,
also want you to get familiar with Milton Friedman.
it's fun.
And
I have
you might
that
as
written
well
down
read
there.
the complete works of W.D. Gann, the basis of my forecasting theory. And I'd like for you to read and have a book report on Richard Wyckoff's Introduction to Trading.
I'm writing that last one down.
I just made that one up.
Sounds
All right,
good.
everybody. Have yourselves a great afternoon, evening, day, wherever you are in the world. Great to see our OGs tuning in to the video, and thank you very much for your patience.
All
We'll
right.
get Joe, an OBS expert, here some point down the road. So thank you very much, Joe, for continuing to persevere on this. It does save me a lot of headache because when I was doing these shows on my own, I'd spend an hour or so every time I did these shows
Well,
putting everything together and doing all the OBS stuff, and it's a pain in the butt. So thank you very much for
well,
tackling this ugly
it's the
job.
least I could do for your expertise. But with that being said, guys, thank you very much and have a great day or night. See you guys next time.
And thank you very much for best wishes with Liam.
And best wishes with Liam. Take care, guys.